Good morning. My name is Gene Chan, hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Cerise Waiters is the clerk of this hearing, and Susan Nawberry is representing Bureau of Urban Forestry. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterwards through a link on the San Francisco Public Works site at sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual hearing, there is no sign-in sheet. If you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider 3 items. Order number 204628, 4 trees in Supervisor District 1. Order number 204630, 2 trees in Supervisor District 3. And order 204631, 1 tree at 184 Amber Drive. My job as the hearing officer is to gather the facts for this hearing, listen to your testimonies, and help the Director of Public Works make a determination. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings and make my recommendations to the Director. The Director will make the final determination. When the Director's determination is made, the department will notify you if contact information was provided. In general, the public hearing will proceed as follows. First, the department will speak and present the case. Second, the property owner or its representative will be invited to speak. Third, members of the public who are not affiliated with the party are invited to provide any comments. Lastly, the department is invited to address any comments. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining. If you are a member of the public who wants to speak, please wait for us to call for public comments, then use Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you're dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you're raising your hand. When it is your turn to speak, we will recognize you. For phone-in persons, press *6 to unmute yourself. If you would like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let us know before you speak. You will then have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or the applicant, property owner. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. The email address is urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. If I feel that a question is warranted, I will ask the question. After comments are received, I will close the item. We will now begin the hearing. Order number 204628. May I have Public Works make its presentation?
Okay, everyone can see the screen. So, good morning. My name is Susan Nawberry. I'll be representing the Bureau of Urban Forestry today. And we'll just dive right in. So order 204628 to consider removal of 4 trees within Supervisorial District 1 as follows. Removal of 2 trees with replacement adjacent to 695 35th Avenue. Removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 520 Arguello Boulevard, and removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 733 Arguello Boulevard. The staff has approved the removal and the public has protested. So these removals fall within like our routine maintenance and or complaints from the public, wherein the public is concerned about safety or general tree decline, or would like to plant a new tree after watching their tree decline for several months or years. So these ones do not have permits associated with them. 695 35th Avenue, tree 1. You can see it's a small dead plum tree. To the left, you can see that it has no canopy, and it still doesn't because it never leafed out. To the right, you can see that little circle right there is a fungal body. So it has internal decay. They're not long-lived species, and the property owner would like to remove it so that it doesn't fall, and or it's also lacking in aesthetic value. And the second tree just right next to it, it's another small dead plum tree. Both of these can be replaced. And the Bureau, of course, would like to get the process started on removing these trees. And we are starting a program where if the property owner can water a replacement tree, the Bureau will put them on a list, which is about a 3-month wait list. Our landscaping crew will plant the tree, and then property owners who are willing will water the tree for 20 gallons a week with a commitment in writing. It's usually an email that says that they'll water it for 3 years consistently if we plant the tree. And we've had some success. That list is growing. Right now, we're pretty maxed out on watering capacity. We're watering about 2,500 trees per year. Friends of the Urban Forest is planting extensively, and we're watering their trees. So our capacity to water individual trees is pretty limited, but if people would plant a tree, we will water. If people would water the tree, we will plant one for them. So the second site, 520 Arguello Boulevard, it's a gas station off Geary and Arguello. This came to us through the Accelerated Sidewalk Abatement Program. Basically, this is a bus zone with a lifted tree grate. It's a concern for the Bureau of Street Use and Mapping. They're concerned that somebody might trip and fall or has tripped and fallen. And you can see that it's right next to the sewer grate, so it can't be replaced there, but it can be shifted towards the south. And it is replaceable if we do shift it down towards the south. But the timeline for replacement for that tree is unknown. The main concern here is that the tree will not survive the root pruning required to make the sidewalk safe, and also to remove the tree grate. You can see it has decay down the middle. It's a Pittosporum crassifolium, so they're not very resistant to decay. Any root pruning here will most likely destabilize the tree. And the third tree at 733 Arguello, it's had past sidewalk repair, and it's a Pittosporum, and they've been declining because of repeated drought. They tend to face root retrenchment, and then after the heavy rains, there's not enough fine roots to absorb all the water, and they start to die and suffocate from the flooding and just consistent repeat flood drought. They're not very tolerant of the new climate in California, unfortunately. So we've been seeing a lot of die-offs of these mature Pittosporums. It's very unfortunate. And again, this is a situation where the Bureau would offer a replacement tree if the property owner is willing to water it. But this is a Bureau-initiated removal because it's a large tree in decline. You can see that lien, that is a new lien due to sidewalk repair and due to root retrenchment. So that concludes the first order.
Thank you, Susan. May I have the, just to clarify, these were all Bureau initiated?
Correct. And by Bureau initiated, it means that nobody has applied for permits, but I mean, like the public may have requested, but it's our responsibility to do the work.
Okay, thank you. May I have anyone from the public that would like to make any comments on this item?
Okay, we have Josh Clip. Go ahead, Mr. Clip.
Thanks. I just a question, and maybe Susan, I can also take this offline if it's easier, but about the second tree that you presented, I'm just, the photo is kind of, yeah. So I guess I'm just curious about not the actual removal itself. This is the one in the bus zone. Yeah, that one. The sidewalk, I mean, just like from a layperson's perspective, the sidewalk on there doesn't look horrible. Oh, I see. Is that a lift right where your mouse was just then? Is there a lift in the sidewalk right there?
Yeah, correct. Sorry about, we could have done better with the photos here. And since it's a bus zone, we have like pedestrians like
Got
that.
it. Okay, yeah, that was my only question, was that just like from how I can see the photo, it didn't look horrible, but where your mouse is, I can see now where the sidewalk is lifting. Okay, no, nothing further from me. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments from the public about this particular order number? If not, I will close this item and move to the next. Sorry, DJ, are you commenting on that first order, 204628?
There, I was commenting on why can't the sidewalk just be kind of shaved down on the next one, the one at the bus stop? Yeah, why can't that just be, in our neighborhood, we've had pieces of sidewalk shaved down so that they are not trippable. I mean, they're flat. Why couldn't that be done and at least temporarily leave that tree there?
Susan, would you be able to comment on that?
Yeah, so basically there's too much uplift. So there's the minimum threshold of shaving is at least like half the depth of the concrete, and there's too much uplift for that to occur. So it can't be uplifted to the point where when you shave it, there wouldn't be a thick enough depth of like concrete remaining.
Thank you. There are
Um,
no comments. I'm going to close.
No, I wanted to ask again why the other side that's lower couldn't be filled up. So there'd be a sort of mound there, but it wouldn't be trippable.
Susan?
Yeah, because it's the accelerated sidewalk abatement program, because it's a bus zone, the ADA doesn't require mounds or uplifted or rounding. They don't accept that for bus zones. So we can't, for specific areas like bus zones and high traffic areas, we can't make exceptions. We have to keep the grade straight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
There are no more hands at this time.
Okay, 204628 is closed. Order number 204630 for 2 trees, Supervisor District 3. Susan, will you please make your presentation?
Yeah, sorry. I think we might have, I don't know if you have a different copy of the orders, but I have 204629 1020 Baker.
Okay, might have been a typo on my sheet. I correct myself, 204629 at 1020 Baker Street.
And this is to consider the removal of one street tree without replacement. Staff approved the removal and the public has protested. So this is a New Zealand Christmas tree, Metro Sideros excelsa. And if you go on Google Street View, you can see that the original intent was, you can see way back in 2008, it was a very small tree and they intended to plant it as a bush. I'm not sure what happened, but basically the tree is now a tree, and it happens to be in the public right of way. So upon investigation, it turns out that the city is responsible now for this tree. And it uplifted the sidewalk, which is like a narrow 6-foot sidewalk. And you can see the distance from the back of the sidewalk to the main trunk. So basically, this is the root that's causing the uplift. It's a very large root. It's on top of a telecom wire. And then the gas line kind of runs perpendicular to the telecom. So that root needs to be cut. We try not to shave roots, although sometimes if we're worried about like the structural integrity, we might shave a root, but the best practice is to perform root pruning and make a clean cut. This root is just too large to cut for a tree this size. And the planter space is so narrow that the amount of space for the tree to grow is pretty unsustainable. To the left is a driveway, to the right is a retaining wall. And we did go back and forth on trying to save this tree. Ultimately, the decision.
Sorry, Susan, to interject. I don't believe this, to Josh's point, thank you. I don't think this order was on the hearing agenda for today. Yeah, all I have is 204628 for the ones we just heard. 204630 for the two trees, one at 1245 Jones and one at 576 Union. And then the last order is 204631 at 184 Amber Drive. What we can do is we can save this order to 204629 that you're currently presenting on for our next hearing. And then if we can continue with the 204630 for those two addresses, 1245 Jones and 576 Union.
I'd be fine with that, although I think it is missing on there. I think the applicant was noticed and they might be, or not the applicant, but the property owner. Would it be
Yes.
okay to take public comment and then also postpone to the next hearing?
Right, because I think they were notified. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we can take it right now just because it wasn't posted on the agenda. Sorry about that. So we can proceed with 204630. (1245 Jones and 576 Union).
Mr. Chan, if I can just let you know, it was given out to the property owners and all the applicants and protesters. It's just that, so everybody did receive it in the emails. It's just that when they went to put it on our website, it was omitted for some reason. But all of the applicants and protesters were alerted about 204629. But okay, I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, I think this will be a procedural issue.
Okay.
And yeah, I think David Steinberg would
Okay,
probably agree with that.
okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Okay, so order 204630, removal with replacement adjacent to 245 Jones, removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 576 Union Street, and staff approved the removal and the public's protested the removals. So 1245 Jones, this is a voluntary permit from the property owner. And it's because they have an arborist that comes and does supplemental pruning to the tree, in addition to street tree SF maintenance. because of our maintenance periods are so long, people do supplemental work. And if it's done correctly, we welcome that stewardship. And this tree has had sidewalk repair a long time ago, and acacias just do not do well with sidewalk repair. And a lot of the best practices over the years has changed. So maybe in the past, the sidewalk inspector wouldn't have recommended a large basin expansion, but now we are recommending that. But nonetheless, the sidewalk repair occurred a long time ago. And now the tree has fungal decay. You can see a fruiting body on this trunk, and with acacias, it usually means root decay and interior decay. We see acacias fail every winter. So the property owner's arborist noticed this decay and recommended removal, and they submitted an application. We approved the removal on the basis of the prior root pruning and the fungal decay. Because it's a removal application submitted by the property owner, they will be required to plant a new tree and water it for 3 years. And so that's 1245 Jones Street. We approved the removal of 1 acacia with replacement. And 576 Union Street. We actually planted this tree a few Arbor Days ago as a signature tree for Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Unfortunately, a lot of large signature trees and a lot of just large, box-sized trees and just trees that get planted in general, sometimes they just struggle and they don't take. This tree suffered some dieback at the top, and while we tried to nurse it back to life, the dieback continued, and you can see that there's living canopy in the bottom of the tree, but it's not enough to assume a good, healthy, strong leader. Again, we want our street trees to be upright, tall street trees, not like wide multi-stem bushes. So there's the dead canopy on the other side, and you can see from the red, like that is all dead, and that is what we actually want as a structure of a street tree. And what's remaining is the stuff that's highlighted in green. That's not going to assume a good leader with a good attachment. And yeah, there's going to be some union down there in the stem eventually, and it's going to form a weak attachment. So we're going to replace the tree with another olive tree, and that's already in process. But unfortunately, because of the dieback, this tree just wasn't going to make it. So we approved the removal and are going to replace it. And there's just another photo. So that concludes 576 Union Street and 1245 Jones Street.
Thank you. And 1245 Jones was property initiated and 576 is Bureau initiated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can I have the property owner or representative make their presentation or comments in regards to 1245 Jones, please?
We have Tori. I'm not sure what the last name is. Go ahead and speak, and you can state your name, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. My name's Joseph Presti. I'm Tori Presti's son, and I'm the son of the property owners. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
Go ahead,
okay.
Mr. Presti.
Okay,
Thank you.
Excellent. Sorry, ma'am.
No problem.
Yeah. So I'm here with my mother. She's off screen, and they're the property owners. And we sent our reasons in to the Bureau of Forestry. But basically, the tree is it has a lean to it as well, and it's infected with fungus. And but more importantly, there have actually been 2 incidences of acacia trees falling 2 blocks away in Huntington Park. The first one I believe was in 2019. It was a tree of similar age, similar height, somewhere around there. And it struck someone in the head and caused a traumatic brain injury, also caused some skull fractures. So there's a lawsuit against the city on behalf of that person regarding that tree. And then the second issue was about 2 months ago, there was some serious windstorms up here, and it caused two acacia trees of the same species to fall in Huntington Park. I've submitted photographs of the fallen acacias. They've since been chainsawed, so it's just photos of the stumps that blew over. I also submitted the lawsuit number. So we're trying to take the tree down in the interest of general public safety. Our property is located about half a block from a school, and the kids walk to school on the street. And then also there's a muni stop down the block. So there's substantial foot traffic, and there's a lot of wind up here. And so we thought we would just be proactive in the interest of public safety before a situation of manifest imminent danger occurs. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any public comments at this time?
We have Mr. Clip. Go ahead, Josh Clip.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So as somebody who's observed over 3.5 years of removal hearings, probably closer to 4 at this point, I think the safety thing comes up a lot. And just a reminder that number one, the trees along the public rights of way are now the city's liability. They're not the liability of private property owners unless you've actively and proactively chosen to take on that responsibility. Also, cities are dangerous places. And so if we're gonna, go ahead and be afraid of every single tree, then we might as well just cut them all down, or maybe we shouldn't walk anywhere or drive anywhere. It's kind of, part of living in crowded spaces. So I just, all that not to take away from what Mr. I'm sorry, what Tori said, because I hear that, and that's a legitimate, being afraid of something is a legitimate feeling. What I'm saying is that I hope that the city is not approving removals simply because of that, and that it is based on the actual health of the tree. And then on the Lawrence Ferlinghetti tree, I think what's really a bummer about that is how much money we spent putting that tree in the ground, because I believe that was a dedicated tree planting, which means it was craned in, and there was a whole celebration around that, and that is very, 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 very costly. And what's disappointing is to see that it's already dead so close to the time it was planted. So much money was spent on planting it, and we have so little money to plant and care for new trees right now. So I hope that, going forward, when we're thinking about these things, we're less focused on the optics and more focused on the actual the actual success of the tree, because certainly it is no tribute to Mr. Ferlinghetti, who recently passed, to be pulling a tree out this early on that was just recently planted in his memory.
Thank you, Mr. Clip. And we have Dichi Bowler. Go ahead and you can speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 3 minutes.
I just wanted to ask, I don't think I caught who would be responsible for watering this tree were it to be removed. The one at 5 on this one that's showing the Ferlinghetti tree.
I'll just jump in. The city is responsible for watering this tree.
Well, that would be difficult because it's hard to count on the city for doing that because of their limited tree watering budget.
I understand. This tree is already on the watering route.
So watering wasn't its problem?
Correct. Well, yes and no. It's really hard to establish large box-sized trees. So they typically require 80 gallons a week, but we think that it's just difficult to establish because they're so large. They require like a large amount of root space. It's really stressful to transplant these large trees. And it's what we call planting shock. The roots sometimes just don't take to their new environment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Now I will close that item and move on to our last order, 204631 at 184 Amber. Susan, will you please make your presentation?
Sorry, I was on mute. So to consider the removal of one street tree without replacement adjacent to 184 Amber, and staff approve the removal and the public has protested. This was a permit application initiated by the property owner. Again, a lot of people, I just want to clarify a previous point that, yeah, people do apply because they're worried about these street trees, and we always make an independent assessment of, whether or not the tree should be removed. While we do listen to people's concerns, a lot of people are scared of trees that really don't need to be removed. People are scared of trees because they're large sometimes, and that's just not a reason to be afraid of a tree. But that often, their concern often captures our attention, and then they apply for removal, and then we independently assess the tree. So we don't remove the tree just out of somebody's fear, and that's a good point to bring up. So I understand the concern that somebody might say, like, well, if somebody's afraid of a tree, we should remove it. But I want to assure the public that we do an independent assessment. And in this tree, it's in decline, and it's just not going to come back. And well, now it's currently fully dead. The reason why we won't allow replacement is because the sidewalk is so narrow, unfortunately. There's no place to move it in the setback, so it can't be shifted. And it's in between two gas lines and next to an electrical conduit. So there's the two gas valves, the circles on the left and right, and then the high voltage electric underground is that PG&E rectangle. You can see that the tree has a lot of decay, and it hasn't compartmentalized. So you can tell a tree is compartmentalizing its wound when it has these like large round, we call them ram's horns, and that's compartmentalization, and that's good. But pittosporums are very bad at doing that. They're not very decay resistant. So this one has continued to decay, and you can tell it has decay by bark sloughing off, and it's not sealing off that wound, and it's also just in decline. And it's possibly unable to seal off that wound because it's in decline. And here's a picture of the red is the high voltage. Somehow the tree is planted on top of it. We don't really do that anymore because if you hit a high voltage electric line, you can die. So we try to avoid planting on top of them. But mostly like the sidewalk is just too narrow, and you can see that the sidewalk has been repaired. You can't do large basin expansions when you have sidewalk that has been repaired in a 6-foot sidewalk. So these trees and 6-foot sidewalks have a lot shorter lifespan, and it's a huge expenditure of resources to plant trees and narrow sidewalks. By the time they reach their benefit, there's the stage where they're providing the most benefits, they'd have to be removed because they buckle the sidewalk. So we try to avoid using our planting resources to plant in narrow sidewalks, and instead have been gearing up all our resources to plant in like wide sidewalks and the Excelsior. So we approve the removal because the tree is in decline, and we approve the removal without replacement because of the utilities and the narrow sidewalk. And that concludes 184 Amber Drive.
Thank you, Susan. May I have the property owner or its representative make their presentation?
We have Kate LaGrosse. Go ahead, you may speak and have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Yes, my name is Kate LeGros. I am an urban forest manager with A Plus Tree, representing my client at 184 Amber. We first assessed this tree in decline in early 2020, and at that point, it did have fruiting fungal bodies evident at the base and along the trunk of the tree, which was indicating internal decay. Really, when we see that, there's not much more we could be doing to attempt to treat or revive the tree, as it is significantly decaying at that point. My client had approved for my team to move forward with a removal and with the intent replacement project in September 2020. And we were notified by the Bureau of Urban Forestry that a replacement could not be done based on the below ground utilities, such as the PG&E and high voltage. My client at 184 Amber is definitely committed to good urban forest management practices and plans to replant a medium-sized, like mature species in their backyard to take into consideration for the loss of the basal area on the street. And that's all.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the public, any public comment at this time?
We have Josh Clip. Go ahead, Mr. Clip.
Yeah, thanks. Because it's not replaceable, I do really appreciate the homeowner's willingness to plant a large species tree in their backyard. One thing is that this is a loss to the of a public asset in terms of street trees being a public asset. It would be great if maybe the homeowner felt like throwing a little donation toward Friends of the Urban Forest, so that at least somewhere else in the public right of way we could have a tree planted there. And only because also trees that are planted on private property are not subject to any type of regulation, so they can really be, planted or removed at any time. So anyway, if the homeowner were so inclined, I'm just suggesting that would be a lovely gesture. And I do not work for Friends of the Urban Forest, but I do volunteer for them quite a bit. So it's a tough economic climate, and they sure could use the help. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other public comment at this time?
I do not see any other hands.
Not, I will close that item, and this meeting is now adjourned.